Up next, the WHL Show with Gabriel Neumann.
Hi, welcome back to the WHL Show. I am your host, Gabe Neumann, and today we are going to be featuring a Seattle Thunderbird. If you follow me on Twitter or Instagram, you know who it is already, so make sure to check out my pages if you want to know in advance who I'm bringing on. But before we bring on our guest today, here's a bit about their team. The Seattle Thunderbirds are currently third in the U.S. division, just behind the Everett Silvertips and the Portland Winterhawks. They've won both of their games played, and in the entire WHL, they are in 7th place. The teams in front of them have played at least one game more than they have, so points-wise and average-wise, they're pretty far up there. With the way they're playing, it's expected their points will grow as the season continues. It seems like they're on an upward trend there. So, goaltender Scott Ratzlaff, who is our guest for today, he wears number 33 for the Thunderbirds. He won his first game this season on September 23, 2022, in a 4-3 shootout victory over the Vancouver Giants. Ratslaff was drafted 43 overall by Seattle in the 2020 WHL draft. He played 3 games in the shortened 2020-21 season and saw 22 games last year. With Thomas Middleton-Net as well, Seattle definitely has a strong goalie tandem, and I, for one, am very excited to see what Ratslaff will accomplish this season. I'm sure you're excited to hear what Ratslaff had to say, so let's go ahead and get started and bring him on. Welcome. So this is the WHL Show. I am Gabriel Neumann, and we have guest Scott Ratzlaff. First of all, congrats on winning your first game this year. What has your mindset been going into the 2022-23 season?
I think just, gaining confidence. Coming in at 16, it was, fortunate enough to kind of get my feet under me playing in the WHL. And now this year you can kind of take what you've learned from being in the league for a year and, just move on and build off from there.
Absolutely. What are a few things that you think you're going to be building off of from last season?
I think mostly just how the game is played, like, reading kind of passing plays or certain, plays gotta think now.
I know you're good.
But, you've played, Tri-City, Spokane a couple different times and their tendencies. So I think, playing them, you can kind of see who their best shooters are. And even looking around the league, who's, been putting up points and knowing when they're on the ice.
Absolutely. Good answer. So what are some strengths of the Thunderbirds that you want to highlight for this upcoming season?
Strengths of our Thunderbirds is just the grit and, willing to play. I think, sitting in the net, you see how willing the guys are to go in the corners and, get first touches, dumping in the puck. And I think we just play that mean and hard game that by the third period, like, guys are tired of being hit by us. So I think, just we have a kind of a state like bleed them out, just keep hitting them and, eventually they'll tire out. And by the third, hopefully have the cardio to take over.
Absolutely. What advice would you give your last season self?
Just to have fun. I think last year you kind of worried about doing well and even a little bit this year, but I think just looking back, like, you play your best when you're enjoying yourself and having fun. So I think that's what I'd tell my past self.
Absolutely. So I don't know how hard this one would be, but go ahead and describe your game in 30 seconds or less.
Jeez. Well, I would say just a competitor, like always competing for the puck until it's in the net, wearing my glove. But I think just movements laterally, getting on my feet, getting places where, I'm able to make saves where they didn't think it was possible, and going post to post and just moving around on my feet where others would slide.
Nice. Yeah, that's smart. So you mentioned earlier when you're playing different teams and looking and seeing who the sharpshooters are and just watching and such, who on your team would you least want to play against?
Oh, geez. There's a lot of them. But if I had to pick one, it would probably be Jared Davidson. I think, he's been in the league for a while and he knows the ins and outs and he's got quite the shot. So I think one-on-one it'd be pretty close. So I think Jared Davidson is probably the hardest to play against.
Absolutely. And then which underrated teammate should fans keep an eye on this coming year?
This year for sure, I think is Nico Majadovic. I think, didn't put up a whole lot of points last year, but I think this year he's got something to prove, and he's, like I mentioned before, he's willing to go in those corners and retrieve the puck, and he's gotten way better passing plays, so I think I'm excited to look forward to him this year.
Absolutely. So out of your entire career, doesn't even have to be WHL, but in all the time that you've played, who would you say, or which goalie tandem would you say would have been your favorite your whole career?
Including me?
Yeah.
Oof. This throughout my life.
Yeah, like which goalie has been your favorite to play with?
Probably Milk. Like, although, like, you don't just talk about the WHL, but ever since I came in at 15, even 16, like, he's just been always, there cheering me on, and it doesn't really feel like, it feels like a healthy competition. You're not trying to get under each other's skin or gain an edge. It's just when he's in the net, I'm supporting him. When I'm in the net, he's supporting me. So I think Millie's got to be up there for sure.
That's awesome. Love it. Now, more of a fun question, I guess. If the Thunderbirds didn't exist, like they never were formed or they never came together, which WHL team would you most want to play on?
They're all pretty good. Let me think. I think for travel-wise, it's got to be a central team. So I think probably be Edmonton. And Edmonton's very close to my hometown, and I would be able to come out a little bit more often. And it's also just a great organization, so I think it'd have to be Edmonton.
Yeah, absolutely. So this season, you did mention Edmonton because of the interconference play coming, or like the whole, like everybody's coming back, right? We're going back to what was considered normal. Who or which team would you say you're most excited to play this upcoming season?
I think Winnipeg.
Mm-hmm.
Although it's on like the other side, they've always kind of been a strong team, and they were the best in the East for quite a long time last year as well. So I think just playing against them to see where we stack up, being in the U.S. division, and just any team in general.
Right.
I've been able to play against each of them since COVID season. So I think just comparing the U.S. division to the East and the West for sure.
Absolutely. So going back or taking a step back from the WHL, who out of all of the NHL goalies playing right now would you say is your favorite goalie?
I think favorite has been Marc-Andre Fleury since I've been young. I think he's just always had a smile on his face, and watching him on TV, you just wonder how he makes some of those saves. Like, he's so flexible and acrobatic, and
absolutely,
I think he plays the game the right way. He's not trying to pick fight with anybody. He's just, having fun, like I mentioned before. So he's definitely not only a goalie I like, but just a role model in general.
I love it. Yeah, he's absolutely like a good person to have as a role model. He's great. Who would you say is your favorite retired goalie?
Oof. Probably Dominic Hasek, the Dominator. Same thing with Marc-Andre Fleury. You watch some of his highlights, and he's just never out of the fight. He's on his back or doing the splits. Like, he just was always willing to throw anything he could at the puck to stop it. And even in practice, I've heard stories where he just wouldn't let pucks go in the net. So I think that's something you can kind of take out of it. Yeah,
that's always fun. So of course you mentioned Flower and being a role model and such, but who would you say you would model your play after?
There's a couple, but I think Husi Saros on the Nashville Predators.
Yeah.
He's not the biggest guy, but he presents himself quite big, and he likes to play on his feet, and I think that's what helps him, because he's not the biggest guy. He holds his feet as long as possible, and he has great edge work, and I watch him a fair amount, and just moves quite well and reads plays.
Awesome. How would you say your style has developed?
I think over the years it's just been a little bit more patient.
Right.
And like I was talking about last year, like I learned the speed of the Western Hockey League. So I think being able to kind of hold my feet and not slide everywhere, be like, I gotta get here, gotta get there, like sliding all over the place. I think trying to stay a little bit more neutral and in the middle, because these guys are so skilled. If you commit, they'll pass back. So it's just a lot of trying to stay patient, and if there's another play, you at least have a shot at it.
Smart. So, reading your interview with Liz Child from last season, I found it really interesting when you described how you sometimes watch the other team's goalie and you tell your teammates what to look for and such. Could you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah. Like sometimes I like to look at the other goalie in warm-ups,
Mhm.
and I just kind of see what their habits are, where they're holding their glove and blocker, how wide their stance is.
Nice.
Because usually you can kind of see, like if a goalie that has a wider stance, they may be able to get ones over the shoulder because they're sitting a little bit lower, or getting those cross, like dot to dot passes, because when your feet are wider, you don't get as much power on your pushes.
Right.
So I think just kind of analyzing, because I just love analyzing goalies in general. I think just taking a quick look and letting players know, hey, this might be open, you want to try that. So just giving advice whenever I can, even if I'm sitting on the bench or not playing, just tapping a guy and say, hey, maybe try this if you get the chance.
That's really cool. I like that a lot. That's awesome. So, in that same interview, you talked about how like your rituals aren't necessarily like any like different or strange or anything. But what would you say would be your weirdest superstition?
Weirdest superstition? It's not very weird, but I always put the left, like everything on the left side first.
Right.
So let's say that's my skates or my knee pads or pads or
Mhm.
gloves even. Like everything has to be left first. I can't put like the right skate on first, or else it just feels weird. So I think that's gotta be the weirdest one.
That's fair. That's fair. So, if you weren't playing hockey, like if you weren't a goalie, if you weren't pursuing a career in hockey, what profession would you say you would want to go into? What would you want to do?
If it's completely outside of hockey, I would say something to do with accounting or stock investing.
Nice.
I really like dealing with money, of course, because that's always a fun thing. But I think just, learning numbers, and I like looking at stocks and seeing certain patterns and categories, whether they're going to drop or rise. So, and my sister is also an accountant too. So I kind of look after her and kind of study what she's been learning.
Nice. Cool. That's no, I could never do that. Like those, I admire you.
For spreadsheets for sure. So.
What is so looking at the past off season, obviously we're going into the regular season, but what was your favorite thing that you did in the off season?
Besides hockey?
Yeah, besides hockey, of course.
Okay. Because I was going to say Gretzky, Lincoln, but besides is probably just golfing. I think I got a whole new set of clubs, and I started to get into the game a little bit more than last year, and I enjoyed going out with the friends because that's something you could just kind of connect on. Mostly everyone in Irma golf, so and we're fortunate enough to have a really nice golf course in Irma, so you just kind of evening after supper say, hey, you want to go golfing? So I think it was just a way to kind of connect with my friends that I haven't seen in 10 months due to last season going into that far in the playoffs. So I think golfing was the most enjoyable thing for sure.
Awesome. That's cool. So we asked a question a bit earlier about like who would you least on your team would you least want to play against? Now, looking at let me see if I can phrase this right. Who's a player on an opposing team that you would most want to play on the same team with?
That I've played against or in the WHL?
Either one's great.
Okay. Let me think. I mean, Bedard is always a good choice.
Of course.
Let me think. That's a difficult one. There's so many good players. It's hard to pick.
How about U.S. Division?
U.S. Division?
Yeah.
Okay. I think Jackson Berezowski from Everett.
Awesome.
Like in the U.S. Division, he's just he got named the captain not that long ago, and I think he's also a leader as well. Not knowing him personally, but I think on and off the ice he seems to lead by example. So I think having him on our team would be a great asset.
That'd be really cool. Yeah. Now, okay, so my questions are done. However, I did ask a couple fans to send in their own questions, and I got a few responses, and so I'll just go over those real quick. McKenna asks, what's your pregame routine?
Pregame routine, okay. So let's say it's a 7 o'clock game. I show up about 4:45, two and a bit early, and I like to warm up with racquetball, so I like to juggle a lot. And then, playing a little bit of sewer with the guys is always a must. So, and then after meetings are over, watching power play and PK, I roll out and make sure I'm warmed up for on ice.
Awesome.
I think that's it.
Perfect. Awesome. Aiden asks, what's your favorite food?
Favorite food? Cheeseburgers, probably.
Nice.
Don't tell the Thunderbirds that because it's not very healthy, but I do enjoy a good cheeseburger.
Love it. I won't say a word. What's your cheeseburger order? What do you eat on your cheeseburgers?
Oof. I like to put mayonnaise, mustard, a little bit of barbecue sauce, as much cheese as possible.
Absolutely.
Bacon, pickles, pretty much everything. Tomatoes, lettuce.
Love
to have a pretty tall stacked burger. So
that's amazing. What would from Theo? What is your Starbucks order?
Starbucks. I've been there in a while, but I do like a caramel frappuccino. Anything caramel is always good. So I like the frappuccino.
I agree, for sure. From Hannah, what's the best part of being a goalie?
I think the best part about being a goalie is just, kind of the main goal of the game is to score. So I think just, stopping people from scoring and kind of being that guy that people rely on, because the goalie is always playing 60 minutes. And if he makes a mistake, it shows on the scoreboard most of the time. So I think just, being that guy that, the team relies on. And when you make a save, the crowd likes to be loud. So I think just enjoying that and being a big part of the team.
Yeah. How does that feel? Like if you get a major save and then the entire crowd's just banging, how does that feel?
It feels good.
I bet.
It's it doesn't go underappreciated for sure, because the Seattle fans, they just yell at anything. So
right.
I think when you make a save and all the fans are cheering, it makes you feel pretty special.
Love it. And then last fan question was from Haley, and she wants to know, if you were a Pokemon, which one would you be and why?
Pokemon. Probably Charizard. I know it's basic, but he's just kind of been the OG original Pokemon besides Pikachu. So I think just being Charizard, he's pretty cool.
Perfect. Love it. What's a message that you have for Thunderbirds fans?
I think just keep being loud. I mean, the atmosphere every time we step on the ice is unreal, and we appreciate each and every fan coming out. So just continue to be loud, and we'll put on a show.
Awesome. That's it for today. Thank you so much, Scott. You are awesome. I'm really excited to see what you have coming for you this season, and I cannot wait to watch you play.
Sweet. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you again to Scott and the team with the Seattle Thunderbirds for helping bring him on today. I really appreciated it. I had a lot of fun talking to him about the season and everything that's going on with him. And if you want to see a particular player from the WHL, any team is great. Feel free to reach out to me and I will do my best to bring him on. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My handle is right there. Make sure you tune in next week, 7 p.m. PST on Tuesday. Thank you. Thank you.